Well, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome and thank you so much for joining me this evening on Talk and Sip Saturday Night. Talk and Sip Saturday Night, and I want to welcome those who are on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me on YouTube this evening. Thank you for those on Facebook and those on Instagram as well. Vita, I can see you, and also thank you for those on TikTok. TikTok, I call it the Renegade Group. Group that everything happens. I want to thank you so much. You can share it. Unfortunately, on TikTok, you're not able to see the full screen, which is on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. But if you want to do so, you can go to Silver and TV, Silver and TV on YouTube, Facebook, and also uh, Instagram. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yes, thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're gonna talk about something different. We're gonna talk about Bahamas. I'm gonna talk about the Jamaica elections in twofold, in a sense. What are you drinking? Let me know. What are you drinking? I'm actually drinking some sort of lemonade here. Cheers, cheers. What are you drinking? And then also I have a a bottle of Merlot, which I may have, may not touch. Um, it's more for props, if anything. And I also have some sparkling water, which is really good. I like the sparkling water, and I encourage a lot of people to drink water because water is very good and very smashing. And I poured it in the wrong glass a while ago. Um, it's some nice sparkling water, which is good. Talking to Sip Saturday night, as you can see, it's more like a nice, relaxing setting, but dealing with at the same time very serious and very hard issues as well. Very serious and very hard issues as well, because sometimes many great discussions happen by playing golf, having a drink as well, and one cannot be very intimidated at time by very hard, maybe uncomfortable topics. And but I wanted to talk about Bahamas tonight, and I tell you why. Because when I see what is happening around the world, and then you may have seen also what is happening around the world, you will somewhat wonder to a certain extent if there's everything else or anything else happening in the world. And the Middle East, we're seeing what is happening. The very sad case of this little girl who was trying to get help. Her family's died in the car, and of course the Israel troops or whatever they, uh, she was trying to get help, and she died, which is very sad. You know, what is happening in Ukraine and Russia, that is still going on there, really sad. uh, the world is in a still to a certain extent in the Middle East and that part of the world. But at the same time, one cannot fail to understand and fail to recognize that there are other aspects to the world. There are other aspects of things which are happening in the world. And I'm going to have Miss Cherise Hollingsworth, who's going to join me at some point today. And we're just going to talk Bahamas. And I hope during the course of the times, I'll have someone come and talk about Barbados. And I'd love to have someone come and talk about St. Lucia. Actually, when I went to law school, I met, person, actually, a couple of them are in parliament and big lawyers in the Caribbean, from St. Lucia, Barbados, Dominica as well. There's so much richness in the Caribbean, and I believe we have got to somehow, if you what do you say, have to recognize that these are serious players as well. The African continent. Hi, Michelle. How are you doing? Bless you, bless you. Um, you're having water. Well, water is really good. Water is really good. What are you having? Are you having water as well? Sparkling water, crystal punch. Crystal punch can be one of the most awesome things, as well. I'm not taking any discussions at present on TikTok. No disrespect. Maybe later. Uh, so yeah. So I want to talk about that. But the election in Jamaica has been called. The election, which is going to be February the 26th, yeah, it has been called in Jamaica, and in light of that, we have the my question is, after the nomination, what next? After the nomination, what next? You know, after the nomination, you saw the nomination and you saw the motorcade, and I was reminded that this was just the start of the whole process, going there with a bang. The green and the orange. I made sure tonight I wear brown because the least little thing someone might thinking that you're a particular line, but I believe nothing is wrong with being aligned. Um, but as it does settles after this nomination day, February the 8th, anticipation, momentum continue to build as Jamaica gears up for its local government elections, the 28th, 26th of February. Candidates officially declared. Some have been kicked out, some have been rejected by their party because they went in independent. It's very interesting that I found out that a few of them have become independent. Yeah, independents without their party know, and they actually kick them out. I'm going to watch to see how much the independence is fair. I've been speaking to a few independent persons like Carl Lawton. I've been speaking to persons like UIC, Joseph Patterson. Been speaking to persons like Hale McKell, independent persons who are wanting to get a lot of support. Campaign intensifies. Candidates from various political parties and independent groups now locked in. The intensity of campaigning reaches its peak. Bustling town squares, rural communities. Candidates take to the street, engaging with constituents. Is that so? It must be so. That must be the next level. Not from the wholeness and the Mark Golan speaking and leading the conversation, but I believe the conversation must come from the bottom up. It must come from the councillors. They should, I believe, hustings. Why not? Public debates and forums. Hustings, we call them in the UK. As part of the democratic process, candidates participate in public debates and forums where they articulate their visions, policies, and plans for local governance. These events provide voters with valuable insights into the candidate's competence and suitability for the office. You know, is will that be the case? Will the candidates be able to sit in the same room, UIC, PNP, GLP, independent, and all sit around a table and everybody come and listen and say, what is your policy for that local area, that municipality or so? Michelle said, celebration party again in Sima Zone. That's all they do, party. Come on. That's not all they do, party. Someone said to me, and I hope he's listening, he said to me, Silburn, you got to go deep. This is not just about party. This is a deep cultural thing. Isn't it, Michelle? Isn't it on TikTok? Isn't it on Facebook? Isn't it on Instagram? Isn't it about a deep cultural thing where persons can actually tune in? This is what it's about. That's what it's about. It's not just about party. And then I started to think. I started to think about the whole aspect of what do you call it? Voter education initiatives. We're like kick into high gear, educating the citizens, well informed, not just about, as you say, not about partying, not about motorcade, but about how to educate are the people being educated? Well, are the different local government candidates educating the people how to go about electioneering, election monitoring? Will there be international observers closely monitoring? Without prejudice and without saying that this was the case. And ladies and gentlemen, please share this video as much as you can. Share it on YouTube, share it on Facebook. We saw a video whereby there was uh, a candidate, a local government candidate, or maybe he's a councillor, actually pulled a gun at someone, and the person was nominated. Yep, person was nominated, duly nominated. He pulled a gun on the person, and people are saying they shouldn't stand, but the person was nominated. The question now is, who vet these persons that get nominated? Is it once a party sign them off? That's it. Um, no, 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 without prejudice. I believe there's a lady also who's being investigated, or but not charged on a particular thing in sentence. She's duly nominated. Duly nominated. Now I go back now to the principles, which is something I spoke about. The principles of public life, principles of those who are wanting to be in the public eye, the principles and the code of conduct. And I dealt with it last week in intense. I dealt with it last week in a full set. I've dealt with it many times, also discussed it with Ms. Janet Calder from JAM, discussed it with Ms. Professor Rosalie Hamilton from Advocacy Network, and discussed it even with Danielle from National Integrity. And it is selflessness. Holders of public office should act solely in terms of the public interest. Integrity. Holders of public office should place themselves under any financial or other obligation to individuals. Objectivity. Accountability. Who are they accountable to? Openness and transparent. Honesty. Leadership. Holders of public office should promote and support these principles by leadership and example. That is very crucial. That is total very crucial at this time. And the question is, will the people of Jamaica, will the people who are going to vote hold their local government accountable? You know, hold them accountable. You know, will they hold them accountable? Yeah. And is it really voters' knowledge? There are lots of educated fools have knowledge about politics, but you got great columnists in Jamaica. I mean, you got Mark Wignall, you got the great Cliff Hughes, and all these persons should be there educating the people about the whole process. Can't leave it to the politician. These are the guys that should be educating the people. Are the people being educated? And if any Jamaicans are listening to it, and in Jamaica, are you hearing clearly and directly from the local government candidates as to, one, what are their policies? What is it that they will do? You know, and I saw a guy from Mocha. I think his name is Romain. Romain is from Mocha, and Romain's position is that he jumped from the JLP and he moved straight into the PNP. And guess what? The PNP and JLP is following him because they say he's the man. Should you be voting for a color or a prime minister when you can't vote for the prime minister? Not this time. You won't be able to vote for the prime minister now. No, you don't vote for the prime minister now. You're voting for your local candidate. You know, the local candidate is the person that you are going to vote for, not the prime minister. Or is this sending a message to the prime minister referendum, which he says not? He said every day he's been there's a referendum on him, you know, and you know. So yeah, so that's us. And I'm hoping tonight that I'll get a couple independent persons to come on, and maybe a couple young people to come on as well. Just hopefully that they'll come on. But before we go, I want to go to Bahamas. Let's switch the stage. Let's switch the stage. Let's go Bahamas. Let's go Bahamas. Yeah, let's talk about Bahamas. Forget about Jamaica now, man. I'm Bahamian. How are you, Sherry? Today? How are you doing?
How are you? I'm doing really good.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And thank you for coming on. And you might have heard my rambling talking about politics in Jamaica.
Oh, you're hitting a nerve. I don't want to get involved.
Well, let's not get involved in Jamaica. What is politics like in Bahamas?
I don't know.
Hold on, hold on. Is Bahamas only about sun, sand, beach, hotels, and Miles Monroe?
Man, I tired having this conversation with you. We have so much more to offer. I am an organically grown Bahamian.
Yes.
And I would venture to say that you, sir, you
Uh-huh.
need to get out and see more of what's happening in sports, more of what's
Yes.
happening in culture, and then you would
Yes.
know that there's more to the Bahamas than Miles Monroe. But while I was waiting backstage, I heard you touch on this voting for the leader of the party and the color voting in an
Mhm.
attempt to support the leader. But
Yes.
I would have to agree, it's so flawed, right? Because
Mm.
we don't always want to lend our support to the candidate in our constituency. But sometimes, by virtue of being loyal to party politics, you end up casting your vote toward a particular color in an attempt to support the leader. But it's impossible to do that, right? Because we're
Yes.
voting for a candidate. And
Yeah,
so
but
it's,
you're right about that because when you think about it, if there's a good person, if Cherish is a candidate there and Cherish is of this particular color, but Cherish is doing great, she's doing fantastic, she's working with the people, but because she's in that color there, people are going to vote you out.
I'm listen, at the risk of being completely transparent, I have had the opportunity to vote quite a few times. I'm over the age of 40, but I too, in one of those instances, decided I'm going to vote a particular way, even though I really liked the opposing candidate. But I
Yes,
was caught up in this same thing where I have to be loyal to the party, even though I knew that the best candidate in this particular instance would be of another color. And so it's a dangerous game we play when citizens begin to vote in that capacity. But that's the way our democratic systems are set up, right? Is there a way around it?
I like how you said that's how the democratic system, but many people are saying, is it really democratic, or is it something which was, um, what should I say, passed down to us from the West, anything. But
Perhaps,
is it
yes,
democracy?
perhaps.
Someone said, yeah. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I got Sherry Hollingsworth there. She's a
Yes, I didn't
psychotherapist,
come to talk politics. I did not come to talk politics. I came to talk business.
yeah, author, educator, consultant, resilient coach, founder of the
Yes,
Hope Foundation, and best
yes,
known as an advocate for women's rights. And she has a passion for
yes.
helping individuals resolve complex trauma. And while her impact is global, her roots grow deep down into the Bahamas,
Very
where she
deep
devoted most of her life. I, I,
West End, Grand Bahama, and into Eleuthera Island specifically.
yes, yes. Well, you got well. I'm gonna because as I said, my shows tend to, especially on a Saturday night, revolve a lot around Jamaica issues. You know what I'm saying? And I said I wanted to change the game, Cherise, because in the Middle East, people are focused there with what's happening with the Palestinians and the Jews in Russia and Ukraine and different parts of the world. But somehow the eyes are away from the Caribbean and from Africa to a certain extent. And I was saying to myself, well, sometimes people say, nobody's talking about this, nobody's talking about that. But then I said, hang on a second. We are the ones need to bring it to the table. We are the ones that need to talk about it because at the end of the day, the mainstream media has now changed, whereby the mainstream media is not those CNN and all those guys. They're all going to the social media people to get their stories. So we have to. Anyway, I don't do that. Talk,
It's weird that social media has become the most credible source of
yeah,
information, right?
yes. Somebody just said the question is, will our island Jamaica withstand the pressure of the building that's taking place in Jamaica for the elites? And exactly, do we really live in a democratic society? But I'm gonna leave it to you now. Let's tell us about yourself and Bahamas. Let us be translated or transported into Bahamas. And even if I have to play music for you, just talk about Bahamas now, you know?
Really? You're gonna play some music for me?
Yeah, Bahamas.
Oh God, it's not even Bahamian music, but I appreciate it. Oh man.
All right, go
Listen,
ahead, go ahead.
why you ain't tell me to get you some Bahamian music you could play without getting into copyright trouble?
If not, I'll be copyrighted. So no, no, we go ahead. Go ahead.
So to that point, I want to take this opportunity to highlight just something I think is a hidden jewel within Caribbean nations, right? You're a Jamaican, I'm a Bahamian. We have our local governments, we have our national perspectives, and we have those citizens that are on the ground and that are contributing. And I think where we get a little bit lost, or maybe we're not heard the same, is when we forget about people like yourself, people like me, that are really members of the diaspora, but across cultures. And so I'm here in the United States for right now. And I would venture to say there are a lot of women just like me, members of the Bahamian diaspora, that are making significant impacts, and who by extension, or by virtue of being Bahamian, we become what people see. And so you associate the Bahamas with like a Miles Monroe and with the sun, sand, and sea, but many people associate the Bahamas with Cherish. Many people don't know who Miles Monroe is. They only know the Bahamas because of the banner that I wear and sort of the ambassadorship that I carry, for lack of a better word. A lot of people only know the Bahamas because of Shawnee Miller. I don't know if you're aware of who that young lady is, right? Shawnee Miller is a two-time Olympic gold medalist in the 400 meters. She has, along with many others, along with people like Jazz Chisholm and Buddy Hield, they've taken the Bahamas on their backs, and they've given us a level of international notoriety through sports. There's a coach, Yolette McPhee McCoon. She's at Ole Miss right now. And as soon as she got there, she began breaking down barriers to the point where that women's basketball program is now known internationally as well as national, on the national stage, going into the Sweet 16 and, winning championships overseas. Like, these are the things that some Bahamian people are doing. I don't know if you've heard the name Dr. Crystal de Gregory. Are you familiar with that name?
No, go ahead and tell me.
Right.
See, I'm being dedicated tonight.
You get tired of me talking about women, but Dr. de Gregory is a historian. She's a storyteller unlike any other, providing significant, colorful, impactful insights into Black culture, also into history. Possesses a lot of information, a lot of political insight, not just on the rich history of the Bahamas, but also right here in the United States, as an alumni of an HBCU. Then people within that community, when you say Bahamas, they will think of Dr. de Gregory and not Dr. Miles, right?
Right.
And then we have Dr. Darville, Dr. Lancia Darville. She's down in Tampa right now, I think. She's a multidisciplinary chemist, a key player in a lot of estrogen and oncology research down there. These are just women, Bahamian women, members of the diaspora, strong Bahamian presence in their own right. Lady Shannon Iguodaro is down in Miami Gardens, organically grown. These ain't people who I telling you I heard about. These are women that I know. I've met them. Many of them I grew up with. We ran in the same circles. We played basketball. We ran track. We went to some schools and stuff together. These are real Bahamian women making significant impact. Lady Iguodaro is the councilwoman. I think it's seat 3 out of Nassau as well, making a global noise, getting ready to run for re-election after she won that first local election by about 60% of the vote.
Yeah.
And so when you talk Bahamas, this is the kind of presence the Bahamas has worldwide. And I'm sure you guys in Jamaica, you have the same sort of global presence, but the diaspora, for whatever reason, the voice is not heard the same. And so even at home, there may be Bahamians who are not even aware of the great things that these women are doing, right?
Interesting thing you said, because I had on Mercy, our good friend, And hi, Mercy. I know she's listening, and if you could come in. But Mercy said something about that. Even in the UK, for argument's sake, a lot of the diaspora, black people, children, need to see persons, black people out there in the world who are movers and shakers, which we don't normally see. Because as I said today in my opening, you are seeing so much about the Middle East. Okay, we are sad and our condolences to all of what's happening in Russia as well. But at the same time, there's a massive world out there that people need to
There's a
see as well.
massive world out
Yeah.
there.
And just as though you're talking now about Bahamas. I said earlier that I'm going to make sure I try to link with some of my friends and come and talk about Dominic and all these different countries. But for
Yes.
now, we're talking about Bahamas.
Yes, yes.
I was fascinated when I was, because I started to read about it on Bahamas, and I realized, I said, I can't tell when last a dollar was to a dollar.
How you mean? You mean in
Michelle,
Jamaica? You mean in
yeah,
Jamaica?
I'm saying to my friend Michelle, it's a dollar to a dollar over there in Bahamas. One
From the
Bahamian
day I
dollar.
was born.
Yes.
I was born into this value system where, economically speaking, we have been on par because our dollar carries the same weight as the US dollar. And
Mhm.
so, as a matter of fact, when tourists come into the country, they don't even have to exchange currency. You can spend a US dollar in the Bahamas
Yes.
with no exchange rate. You can walk into a store, drop 100 US, get your change back. Sometimes you'll get it in US, sometimes you'll get it in BSD, but it's interchangeable because of the value that they both share.
Yes. Wow.
Yes. It's weird though, because how is the dollar the same and then we're still like a third world country? Like, what are you saying?
I think the question you got to ask yourself is what is a third world country? And you got to ask yourself the question is this. This is a big question. I love this movie which is called Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh,
With
I'm not thinking
Charles
about that.
Bronson and Henry Fonda. And my wife always, when I go, "Doo-doo-doo," that music started to play, my wife go like, oh, he's starting again. Because I watched that movie. It's my favorite movie. But how was the West won, Cherise? How was the West won? How was the West won? It was on the backs of Africa. It was on the backs. That is
Good.
why I'm sure you guys are fighting against this Columbus as if Columbus was the one who discovered, when actually the world discovered Columbus instead.
Oh man, it is so real right now. I don't want to harbor on it, but we actually had an incident earlier in the year where there was some sabotage to the statue of Columbus that was in the Capitol because we've sort of shifted to honoring Columbus Day as National Heroes Day. Um, Trying to preserve our identity and give credit to whom it's due, right? And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of, again, I would revert back to you. What is
Yes.
a third world country?
What's a third world country?
Like
I
what
thought,
is it, what does it even mean? What are we even doing? All of
yeah,
our
yeah,
history traces back to Africa.
yeah. And we keep saying developing, to the point you say, when will it develop? Because I don't know if in Barbados you've got, sorry, in Bahamas you've got the Vision 2030. Is there a Vision 20 something document there? In Jamaica, there's a Vision 2030 that says by 2030 Jamaica will be a fully developed country. It is something with the private sector, with the Planning Institute of Jamaica. It is something that both parties are signed up to this whole
Mhm.
policy. And my good friend Woody always say they're not really playing the game to make this happen, because really and truly, when you think about it, Cherise, if your vision is for Jamaica to be a developed country in 2030 and there are policies in place, then shouldn't both political parties be singing the same hymnal going
Right,
towards
right, right. And
this
so
vision?
I was going to ask you if it's sort of a joint, if it's going to take a joint effort, then it goes against politics.
It goes
Because
against
politics
politics.
in itself comes with a spirit of division.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Because
that's
I
interesting.
know, and I'm not to drag you into politics, but I was looking
No man,
into,
don't drag me into
no,
politics.
I'm not dragging you into it, but I was looking at a prospective candidate speaking to his people, and he says, "Here all labor rights," and another one, "Here all people," and I'm saying, You're saying here are labor rights, here PNP. And I'm saying, why don't you say here people? Trying to
Yes.
reach everybody, but it's like,
Yes.
are you just wanting to reach to your group?
Yes.
Or you wanting to reach to a wider group? What I'm thinking about a lot is a new change, a new thinking that we have to have. And as we're growing older, we're going to teach our children to move away from this sort of division. There's so much divisions in the world,
Yes.
but to actually try to emulate something of a united front. I don't know. I know I didn't. You're not here to talk about politics, but you're here.
No, I think there's a divide. I think there's a divide in our region in terms of
Mm,
the Caribbean region. There's a divide between who we really want to be. And when I say that, I mean in terms of a more individualistic sort of society, or if we want to embrace this spirit of collectivism.
mm,
And collectivism is more of a we, right? I push
yes.
you forward, but I push you forward to benefit the we and the community as a whole. And I
Yeah.
think that sometimes it sounds conceptually good for us, but at the end of the day, it is quite an individualistic approach. And people, they end up in it for them, what they can get for them. And then we forget the people, like you
Yeah.
say. And so there's a struggle there versus when it comes to individuals versus community, and what is really driving us, what really drives us when it comes to development
Yeah.
and building up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I see. So tell us a bit more about yourself and the work that you do with women. Cherise.
So I'm officially a psychotherapist now. I
Mm,
provide a lot of care and treatment for individuals with more complex traumas. And so a complex trauma is kind of the things you don't see. It's the trauma that happens on the inside of you, right? As opposed to external traumas. Um, when I started the Hope Foundation, it was built on this framework that people need to be able to heal
mm,
first before they can embrace opportunities, before they can be able to fully walk in purpose, and before they're able to now empower someone else through their experiences. And so that is kind of where we came up with the HOPE acronym. That is kind of the framework that drives us. I believe that the basis of everything is healing. It's like everyone has trauma,
yes.
but most of us walk around with it unresolved.
So
Black people.
you're talking like therapy then. People have been needing therapy. That's what.
Yeah, yeah. And on
Mm,
an adult scale, it looks like talk therapy, right?
yes.
But on a very small scale and a basic scale with children, it just looks like play. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know if you have kids.
Yes,
Uh,
I do. Yeah.
how old are they?
12 and 16. Yeah.
Okay, you've got a 12-year-old. When is the last time you actually played a game with them?
A dance. I do break dance.
You would break down and play. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
sat down to just play checkers, play chess,
Mm,
shoot the basketball, do anything, get in a sand tray. The number one language of children is play,
mm,
right? And when you get into it, even with adults, I've even used some play therapy techniques with adults, because when you take someone into their imagination, you now join them in a place that is safe for them. And if you're able to maintain that narrative in that safe space, you can learn a lot about what they're going through, what they're
mm,
feeling, what they're saying in their imagination that they otherwise wouldn't even be able to say. And for children who can't articulate themselves, that's the only time you're going to really be able to see it. Um,
yes.
and so this is what complex trauma is all about, trying to reach people on those levels and trying to somehow bring a resolution to the trauma on that level. And it's so real. I can't emphasize it's so real. It's so real. So I'm an advocate for our mental health, but I'm also an advocate for women and women's rights. I am, at the risk of sounding like I have a great big ego, I am not just a woman. I'm a 6 foot tall woman. I'm very
Mm,
tall in stature. My personality is tall. My beauty goes the distance. And I've had my share of challenges trying to navigate sort of a world where, most women have to lay down to get things done.
Mm,
Um, I'm not one of those women. I believe that we can find enough access to resources and support. I believe that we can learn, we can become educated enough, we can sort of give ourselves enough value through education and other avenues to where when we present ourselves now, we can stand on the value that we know we have and pull value out of others. And then you don't find yourself having to make so many compromises. And so that's what I'm here to do, to let women know you can be a single mom, you can be a divorcee, you can be a whatever, molested, raped, whatever it is. We've all been there. Everyone has had some level of trauma. And more than 85% of the population in a 24 in a 12-month period would have had a depressive thought or a depressive episode. Like, you're not cuckoo if you felt depressed one day. You're not
yes.
even manic depressive. It's a normal thing to feel. Everybody has it, but you can overcome those things.
Mm.
Being female is like a superpower.
So what you're actually saying is that this is something that is also a lot of people, when we talk about women, but a lot of people, including women, are walking around with these sort of traumatic things around with them, and somehow, if it is not dealt with, it can manifest into something deeper.
It will.
Mm,
It will. And I shared this with you, I think maybe privately. Most of the national problems that we have, they all began with one person that was not well. They
mm,
all began with the mindset and the framework of an individual who was fed up. And for whatever reason, this individual problem became a family problem. And when that family broke down, it became a community problem. And when that community broke down, it became a social ill and a national problem.
mm.
And it all reverts back to the family because we are the fabric of the community. That is what the family is. When
Yeah,
you repair the family, you repair everything.
it's very interesting what you said, because last week, in my church, and I like how this conversation is going, because this wasn't really the plan. We
This
said
is
we're
so
just going to
right.
talk.
This is so weird.
Yeah, we said we're just going to talk Bahamas. But last week, my pastor, um, he preached on the family,
Hmm.
and he said the family is one of the strong structures. And then it was like the first Sunday, and we normally do Holy Communion, and he said instead of doing the Holy Communion at the start, he did it at the end after his service, after his message on family. And then what he did was asking all the families to sit together.
Hmm.
Now my wife, she does worship, and my kids, one of them play the drum, and one does the work and does the words going up, and we all came together. And it was talking about, you got to go back to the roots of strengthening the family as much as possible, because that's going to be a strong source. The family is as strong as and I like to emulate sometimes these mafia movies sometimes, and say families, uh, I'll go like this: families, we're all
Yes,
together, like mafia,
yes.
like families, loyalty,
But it's
families.
a difficult thing, Silborn.
Yeah, I know.
I read the Bible,
Yeah.
and I know that idealistically we can have all of these expectations. But before you get through the book of Genesis,
Mm.
you see all these family dramas.
Yeah.
Before the book of Genesis is done, right?
Even the
You
snake.
see a nagging wife convince a man to do something to compromise the whole of the universe, right?
Yeah.
You see one brother of a sheer jealousy alone murdered another brother. And so that proves to you that me and you could be born family, but that doesn't entitle us to a relationship. That the relationship of brotherhood has to be cultivated, right? Because even though they were born brothers, the man still killed his brother. And then you read further down the line, Noah take the family in the ark, come out of the ark, get stone drunk. Some of the brothers them was laughing at their daddy. He was naked on the ground. The other one gone, cover the daddy up with a sheet and whatever. And then before the chapter ends, you see this brother raped that sister. And it's like a whole bunch of mess going on in the family.
Yeah.
And so, even though, yes, the family is the strength of our communities, even back then, the families were not void of molestation. The families were
Mm.
not void of betrayal. But what the families did have, they had the unadulterated presence of love and forgiveness. And that is the power I think we possess in all relationships, this wonderful ability to forgive. Because,
Mm.
like, we are only people. There's always going to be an ounce of people in people. I don't care how saved you are, I don't care
Yes.
how perfect you are. And when we accept that, I don't become as devastated when you do something that hurts me.
Yes. 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 No, that's really powerful. I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. And I'm with Cherish today. You know that song by Sade, Cherish Today. With advocate, and she's on. And thank you for those on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And just to say, I got Mr. Joseph Patterson, the president of UIC, the third political party in Jamaica. He's going to join me in about 10-15 minutes time.
Okay.
And Cherise will be here to banter and discuss politics with him as well. I'm just kidding, Cherise.
Yeah. Of
Well,
course.
Mr. Patterson will be joining us shortly. It's interesting you're saying what you're saying, and I want to just touch a bit on mental health, because you mentioned mental health a while ago, which is a key factor. Because many years ago, even growing up in Jamaica, when you hear the word mental health, you normally just think that somebody just mad. You just think that mental health.
Yes.
Once you hear mental, it's mad. But then
Crazy.
after a while, you recognize and say, "Hang on a second." Just like a blood pressure, just like diabetes, just like a normal health factor, you, your mental health is something that you need to take care of.
It
You
has
want to
to be
expound on that?
maintained. It
Yeah,
has to be maintained. That's
yeah,
correct. As a matter of fact, we call the intestines, the gut, like the second brain of the body.
mm,
And we link now certain foods that you eat also to the maintenance of mental health.
mm,
It's so important. Let me tell you how important mental health is. If you take the brain of a child that is
yeah,
that's reared in a nuclear family system, this child has never suffered neglect, never suffered abuse, never suffered abandonment. You take a normal, healthy brained child and you take a scan of that brain and you compare it to the brain scan of a child of the same age that has suffered a complex trauma like
yes,
severe abuse, sorry, neglect, or even absenteeism, even something as simple as absenteeism of a parent. When you look at those brains, you will see that the brain of the child that has suffered that trauma is not even the same size. The
mm,
membranes are thinner. The neural pathways, they don't light up the same. They have gaps.
yes,
The beautiful thing about the brain is when you understand it, you know that they talk about neuroplasticity. So you
mm,
can rewire the brain, and this is where cognitive therapies are important through repetition, through reframing, through practicing positive outlook and practicing how to manage triggers. You can rewire the brain so
yeah,
that all of those trauma responses are resolved and they're different and now the pathways are functioning. Most the black man is the least likely to seek out therapeutic intervention, and the black man carries more trauma than anyone in the world because it
it,
goes all the way back to slavery.
Let's touch on the black man there, because my friend and I, we had a discussion the other day, and we're talking about prostate cancer, because King Charles with the Solon gland, and they say 1 out of 4 black men will get cancer, 1 out of 8 white men will get cancer, and
Right.
but the issue was that black men don't want to do it. Because of the stigma and everything. But now you're just saying something about the trauma factor now, whereby a lot of men, black men also have that issue but won't address it.
They won't get help. I think on a level, we have taught our black men that to seek a level of intervention is weakness, when in
Mm,
actuality it is strength.
yes.
We've taught our black men they're not supposed to cry. They're not supposed to shit. Like I have a child. I have a son. I was a teacher for 20 years. 20 years an educator. And a girl comes to school, she's not feeling well. She can cry, she can go to the nurse, you give her a hug, you give her a cup of tea. And then the
Mm,
boy comes in and he's crying and he's like, Why you crying? You's a
Yep.
man. Don't cry. What you crying for? Like men don't cry. And so these are the kind of things that our men are taught from a
Mhm.
very early age, behaviors that are emulated. And then we go to church and we want to talk about a generational curse when really we passing on generational traumas because we're now only teaching what we've been taught. I can only model in my home what was modeled in my home
Yeah.
unless I become very intentional about what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. That's where we're at.
Well, I must say that on public on the here, I'll have to say we'll have to book you in at different times to come and having some discussions on different topics. Cherish a day.
I'm
It
here to
I
empower.
must I must say this is a bit like walking on water. Something you got to step out by faith because when Mercy introduced me and said you need to interview this lady. All I was thinking about Bahamas, but I think the whole issue really is what you're talking about, the whole therapeutic, the whole mental health factor, and all those sort of things, which is very crucial and
Yes.
important. But I want to, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And Michelle is actually saying a while ago that this sister speak the truth. Now the forgiveness part, I may say it's a little
Oh,
different.
Michelle, I appreciate you, girl.
But
That's okay.
before I let you go, let's touch a bit about Bahamas, just a quick bit. I just want to touch on something about
Just bring it
Bahamas,
back.
really. Yeah, what's your favorite cuisine in Bahamas, there, if anything? Or what you
My
drink?
favorite cuisine.
Yeah,
Oh,
are
I'm
you
not
drinking
drinking
something?
anything. This is definitely sparkling water.
Okay, it's crystal punch. We call it crystal
Definitely
punch.
sparkling water.
Yeah,
But my favorite cuisine is I love being food. What you mean? Man, I love me some conch. I love cracked conch. I love steamed conch.
uh,
I love conch salad. I love me some rum cake. It's probably not anyone in the world that can make a better rum cake than me. I love to
that's
blow
what
my own horn, right?
that's what
But
they
then
do. That's what they like. That's what they specialize in Bahamas.
man, we put our variation on some of the Caribbean dishes. So everybody get curry, right? Y'all love curry down in Jamaica. They have it in Trinidad and stuff like that. We put our little
Yeah,
spin on it. I ain't too much like Bahamian curry that much, but when it comes to the conch and stuff, ain't nobody could beat us at that game. Ain't nobody
yeah,
could beat us frying up them snapper and doing what we do when it comes to that. The potato bread, the coconut tarts. I mean, I could go on for days about some of what we have to offer. I love food though. I think you could see I have a
yeah.
problem with food. My son
I
always tells me, "Come here, my chubby cheeks, mama," because I love it. I love the food down there. If you haven't had an opportunity to try it out, you got to go to the Bahamas for it though, because some of these Bahamian food I be eating outside of the Bahamas be a little suspicious.
I noticed you have in music and festivals, you like Jankana because Jankana is the most famous Bahamian festival featuring colorful costumes as well, similar to
It is.
Jamaica. I used to,
I feel like
I
y'all.
used,
I feel like Jamaica used to have Junkanoo too, though.
no, we do. I used to afraid of Shaggy. I used to
Oh
scare.
yes, yes.
I used to run when Shaggy passed by.
Yes, because I think I believe that even John Canoe traces back to like slavery and sort of an expression of our cultures. And I believe
Yeah,
Jamaica, along with the Bahamas and maybe a few other countries, would have shared in that. We love John Canoe, man. Ain't nothing. And the only thing we remember about Christmas is Boxing Day, John Canoe.
well, I just bring in Miss. Okay, he's not ready yet. I was going to bring Joseph Patterson to talk about it, but
Okay, there you
Oh,
go.
sorry, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry.
no,
Oh my
Joseph, I was
God.
going to say, are you into Junkin as well?
John Kunu?
Yeah.
Let's say it's not one of my favorite
Oh
pastimes.
my goodness. Yeah, y'all ain't on the Junkanoo like us. We
Yeah.
down with the Junkanoo. We love the goat skin drums. We have it in our school systems. We have junior Junkanoo. We don't give up an opportunity to beat them drums and shake them pots.
Yeah.
No, I like the drums. I like the drums. I
Love
love
the
the
drums and
drums.
the horns, the music.
Uh,
Oh, man.
what I don't
Maybe
like
you
is
can find
it's a bit
some
scary.
Junkanoo music to play, man. Go on YouTube right now and find some Junkanoo music to
It's
play.
no, I mean when they put on the costume and stuff from a child, I found it a bit scary, so I kind of
I,
stay
I
away
That's
from.
what he
Joseph,
said.
Yeah.
Likewise, he's just scared of me as well.
So it's not my thing, but I do like the drum and the music, the rhythm and the
The
beat and
music
all of
is
that. That I can
awesome,
do.
unlike
Yeah,
any other. When the Junkanoo start, you can't help but to start moving. Honestly, don't bring me back unless you have some Junkanoo playing.
All right, definitely. Well, listen, Cherise, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. Yeah,
I
and
appreciate you,
it
man.
was great. But before I go, Joseph Patterson is a um, president of UIC, the third political party in Jamaica, United Independent Congress, and he's in the middle of the election. So we're going to talk about that. But Joseph, one of the things that Cherise said today, we were talking about it, is that when it comes on to elections, it is like people are not focusing on candidates a lot. Sometimes they're focusing on the green or the colors. You
Hmm.
know what we were talking about, Cherise, earlier. You know, I pulled her a bit into the political discussion. You want to say anything about that, Joseph?
sure.
Whereby,
I mean, normally in Jamaica and many other countries as well, politics can come down to more entertainment than substance. In some countries, it can be substantive, and in some moments, even in Jamaica, it can be substantive. But generally, politics in Jamaica is more theatrics, more. Let me kind of contextualize it for you. Many of the persons who do get actively involved in politics in Jamaica are from the lower strata. The upper income, middle income really don't vote per se and don't get involved. So it's mostly the lower strata, which is by design. It's the way that we have been cultured. So what happened is those at the lower strata, which is the majority of Jamaicans, or a big segment of Jamaica, they don't have much in the way of regular work
Of
or
course,
regular income.
those are the votes that you can purchase.
Yes. And so for them, this is like a celebration. So when it comes now to jump on your side and put on your orange thing or to put on your green thing and hang out on the bus and jump and blow the horn, that's
Yes,
what they enjoy. And
yes,
so they get, and that's the time when they get attention because normally they don't get any attention. The politicians, once they get the vote from them, they park them and they
yes,
move on and go and now do them thing and borrow
yes,
money and spend and thief some and so on. But the
yes.
regular people are left out. But once every 4 or so years, the regular people, the ordinary bottom level people are now brought into action and the festivities of it. Driving all over the place where you never get
For
it before.
motorcades
You
and
you
and
are
the rallies.
Yes, you have rallies, you have
Yes,
nyamings, you have money being given here and
yes.
there. Like I just went to a meeting a while ago. I just had my meeting out in Breeze River, and I am trying to talk substance, and that requires a bit of effort, because you have to. Yeah, man, me here, but what I do for me now? And so you buy a beer, you buy a rum. Give me a money now. Me want to stock up my shop. I want 2 blocks. I want
Hmm. Hmm.
a
Hmm.
pack of good food or whatever. So that is
Hmm.
it. They expect at political time to put their hands out to the politicians because they have been cultured that way. And so, unfortunately, politics in Jamaica is not generally substantive.
Yeah, but the politicians have the ability to break that.
Oh, but
Um,
they have no
that
influence.
expectation, because we have a similar sort of tradition that has been laid by former parliamentarians and
Mhm.
former governments, whatever. Everybody wants to buy votes, but if we stand up as members seeking political office, and I hear Silborn talk about this all of the time, what is the moral and ethical fiber of the politician? What are some of those moral ingredients? What are those 7 principles that he likes to reference? When you live and you abide by them, when they're ingrained into your philosophy as a politician, and everyone collectively as politicians, ain't nobody trying to buy vote and not have to be across the board. But someone is always going to compromise. So we'll all agree, guys, we're going to run a clean campaign and no one is going to buy votes, right? And then the minute we leave this meeting, you done hand to buy outside $50. And so it takes a level of integrity across the board, but we can change that. You guys can change that. What I would want to ask to you as the leader of the independent party, how many candidates do you have as compared to the other parties who I would call the main parties? And how do you really expect to affect change unless you secure a substantial amount of those seats in your parliament.
You know, it's
I
very
like
simple.
I like that question,
Yeah.
Joseph. I like that question.
So we just let me put the landscape for you. Jamaica has what you call constituencies, and then you have what are called electoral divisions. So there are 63 constituencies. So basically 63 members of parliament. At the municipal level, you have these electoral divisions. There are 228 electoral divisions. So, for example, in my constituency of Northeast St. Elizabeth, there are 4 electoral divisions: Santa Cruz, Balaclava, Brays River, and Silo. So,
Oh, I
those are
have
the 4
friends from
divisions.
St. Elizabeth. That was like a delayed reaction.
Yes. The UIC has only been able to field out of the 228 municipal council seats that there are, where we send up 8 candidates, out of which only 5 were nominated to run for office, self included.
5 out
Yeah.
of
Why
200.
so small? Out of 228, why so small? Well, the UIC is a relatively, well, we're a new party, relatively speaking, and we have chosen not to seek the same kind of funding that the main parties do. The main parties are both owned by the PSOJ oligarchs. These are the richest companies in Jamaica. They fund and own and control those 2 parties. So no matter what Jamaicans vote for, they'll always end up with the PSOJ firmly in charge. We have decided to build a grassroots political party, which means our funding comes from the people of Jamaica, from the diaspora, the Jamaican diaspora as well. So we are relying on them to fund us. Secondarily, so that's one restriction we have, right? One
A
limitation,
limitation.
because
Yes.
we have to work with the people to convince them to say, you know, it's best for you to own the party, you know, rather than to allow the big elites to own it, because you're still not getting the results you want. So that's one limitation. The second limitation we have in the process is that finding candidates is difficult, because most Jamaicans know that once you don't align yourself with one of the two, you're going to be victimized.
Yes.
And we have been heavily,
Yes.
heavily victimized. So, for example, we'll find somebody, a good candidate or a good worker or a good leader, somebody in the group, and say, yes, this is good. The moment they're spotted, somebody come and buys them. Now, that also tells you that their own morals and ethics were not strong in the first place. But on the surface, the person would have appeared to be somebody solid. But shortly thereafter, one of the 2 parties come and offer them something, and they're gone. Right? So we struggle to overcome those significant hurdles. And we're making progress, because more and more the Jamaican people are becoming aware of the UIC. They're beginning to digest our content, that we're not a regular political party. We have very high principles. For example, you must live in the constituency that you're going to represent. All of our campaign funding is very clear and transparent. We are for a 100% publicly funded system to ensure equity, fairness, and balance across the board. We have a clear system of governance that we're advocating that would actually change the corruption, eliminate the corruption, at least significantly. So, long and short of it, that's
Yeah.
where we are.
You see, Joseph, someone just asked me a question on TikTok and they asked,
Yes.
what's the cost to contest at a local level? Could you not have fielded paper candidates?
All right, so that's a good question. No,
Yes.
well, I would not subscribe to paper candidates
Mm.
because we believe in true representation. So
Mm.
if your name is on the ballot, it means you want to represent the people and that you have a vested interest and you understand them. The cost of fielding a candidate is really up to the candidate and how much they want to spend on their campaign. So, for example, my campaign for the council seat is going to be roughly $900,000, which is peanuts compared to what the others are spending. My campaign for the MP candidacy will be $9 million, which again is lower than what the others are going to be spending on their campaign. Now, unlike the others, I am not in anybody's pocket, because all of my donations are like $25 and $50, right? While the ones from the 2 major parties, they're getting like $35 million from one donor.
Mm.
You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So they have a very big war chest, and they can do a lot of damage with that. If and when I'm elected, I'll be probably the cleanest candidate Jamaica has ever had, and I will not be in anybody's pocket. I'll be able to stand up for and speak for the people of Jamaica or my constituents without any compromise whatsoever.
Yeah. Thank you, Joseph. Sherry, it's up to you. I like how you're getting involved in this.
No, I'm gonna say this before I leave because I want him to do so well. I
Yeah.
want him to do so well, but life has taught me to be very responsible in my thinking, and I've sort of veered away from being idealistic. Um, Joseph Patterson, I want you to do well. I've never seen, not never, I've rarely seen where you give people a Jesus and a Barabbas
Mm.
where Jesus wins. Except that he eventually went in that grave and win the big picture.
Mm.
But we say we like good people, and it sounds good to say that I'm not going to be bought by anyone. I'm not going to be in anyone's pocket, but you need to be prepared for what that opposition is going to look like.
Mm.
Because in the end, that could cost you the very thing that you're fighting for. And I do not want you to compromise. I want you to remain of the same level integrity, you
Mhm.
know? But I'm just saying, I seen this thing, man.
No,
And
you're totally right. I mean,
yeah, I've seen this
what you're
thing.
saying, Therese, you're being what we call practical and pragmatic, as opposed to
Yeah.
being, idealistic.
Yeah.
And while I might be considered idealistic, I have chosen this path deliberately.
Yes.
I'm not prepared to win at all costs. So that's my settled conviction.
I love that.
When I entered this arena 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I said to my wife, I am not prepared to win at all costs. I am
Right.
prepared. I've spent the time. I developed a system of governance for Jamaica. I developed a political party for Jamaica. I set a clear vision for Jamaica, and I'm willing to pursue that vision to as far as the people will allow.
Yes.
If the people rejects it, and they can reject it not just by the polling, they can reject it by saying we're not going to donate to the movement. So, for example, we have people here in Jamaica, poor people, donating 250 Jamaican dollars a week.
Mm.
1,000 Jamaican dollars a month. We have people in the diaspora giving $25, $50, $100,
Yes.
$500.
Yes.
Fine.
That's
If,
powerful,
if
though. That's powerful.
yeah, if I cannot succeed that way, I am prepared to fail.
But you've already succeeded. And
Good.
that is the message. You've
Yes,
already succeeded. You've already developed a framework that someone else can come now and add to. And
absolutely.
so I don't
Absolutely.
want to take away from that
Yeah.
very strong message that you've already done what no one else was able to do.
Mm.
And I feel like you have everything in place to see it through. And like you say, whatever, however the chips fall, it's in place to be
That's pretty
carried
much
on.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I applaud
I've
you.
never been afraid of failing. Like I was born in one of the most disadvantaged position on earth. And I've seen myself grown from that to becoming a chartered professional accountant, an
Yes.
engineer, the
Wow.
ability to do what my mom could only dream of. My mom would go to bed and
Wow.
dream
Yeah.
of being able to own a home, to be able to travel to so many countries in the
I
world.
love
You know,
that.
so I have been able to overcome all of those insurmountable obstacles. I see people today. I
Yes.
was talking to a young man. I went to the dentist yesterday, and there's a young man sitting here. There's something special about him. I liked his energy. I liked his demeanor. I said to him, I said, "What are you doing here? What is your? How old are you?" He said 19. I was shocked because I thought he was a bit older than that because of where he
Right.
was working in the dentist office. And it says 19, and I said, "Oh, okay." So I said, "Where did you go to school?" He said to the agricultural school, Sydney Pagan. I said, "Okay." I said, "What did you study there?" He said, "I studied electrical engineering or electrical installation at the
Mhm.
secondary level." I said, "So why are you in a dentist office?" He says, "Well, I've decided that I want to become something like in the medical field or something." And then I just had to stop right there and encourage him and let him know that I'm willing to be a mentor for him, to guide
Yes.
him and help him. And I can tell that he's coming from very humble beginnings, but he has chosen to set himself a high standard with all his limitations. And
Yeah.
my mother taught me the same thing. She said, when I failed common entrance twice, you know what common entrance is? That's
No.
the exam you take to go
Yeah.
from
University
primary
thing.
school to high school.
High
Oh,
school to high
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
So I failed that twice. So I know what failing is like. When my friends are going off to Casey and Calabar, these are big name high schools, and I failed those. And then I took the third attempt now at the technical entrance, which is a one more chance to get into a good school, and I failed that too.
Mm.
And then Silburn, you'll understand this. To turn
Yes.
around and pass 13 subjects after that,
Mm.
oh,
including A levels, and to
Mm.
get a full scholarship to go to UTech to study engineering. To me, that is phenomenal. And if I can do that in those circumstances, I
yes.
am betting myself that I might be able to bring my people from where we are now to where we should have been 50 years ago
Yes.
And
if
you
I
can.
follow a path which is different from what is being followed now.
If you hold on to that limitless mindset, you can. That is limitless thinking, and that can secure a victory for sure, for sure. I love it.
And if I come in here, Joseph, one of the reasons why I wanted you on and an independent person was I believe that even with this election and the message which has been going through as to holding leaders accountable, it may not break through a lot in this election, but as long as you
It
keep
will.
building this
Yeah.
momentum and getting one person, two person, three person to recognize and say, hang on a second, hold
Yeah.
your leaders them accountable before
Mhm.
they can even put their foot forward to say that they're going to run as an election. Are they signed up to these principles? Do they know this? Who is the person that vet them? Joseph, who vet these guys? Who vet these persons?
Nobody. Well, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
So every political party in Jamaica would have its own internal vetting process.
Mm,
But what are they vetting for? I would bet you that they're not vetting for integrity. They're not vetting for honesty. They're not vetting for decency. What they're vetting for is electability. Are you willing to play the game that we have been playing for the last 80 years? And if you're not willing to play the game, then you're out. You might recall Selburn in the 2016 era, the PNP had a number of young candidates, the Damian Crawfords, the Lisa Hannas, and so on. And as I watched them perform, those young candidates, what's his name, Raymond Price, when they
yeah,
tried to veer away from the norms of the PNP, what the
they got hit
PNP
down.
would normally do, they quickly crushed them.
Mm,
They demolished them, and almost all of those young people were wiped out of the political representational positions and diminished because they should not change the narrative. So when they're recruiting these young people, whatever the idealism is, it quickly changes into the practical sense of politics, whereby you ought to follow a particular norm, and that norm is vote buying, that norm is corruption, that norm is to putting the party ahead of the people, that norm is to maintain the status quo of a divide and conquer system, that
mm,
norm is to keep 90% subsisting on 10% of the wealth while 10% enjoys the benefit of 90% of the wealth in this country.
yeah. No, it is shocking. I must say, and one of the questions I was, and I don't believe I would get that good conversation with maybe an average candidate, but are people able to listen and to hear policies or the nomination day with the noise and that thing that make noise, whatever?
Yeah.
Are people able to listen and to hear
There's
the
no policy
policies?
discussion. There's no policy discussion. It's all about revving up your base.
Mm,
And the base are what you call partisan animals, right?
yes.
You could actually tell them, I am going to kill you, and they will cheer.
Mm. You mean like Trump?
Mm,
Yeah, because they won't they won't hear they won't listen. All if once you are wearing the green shirt, whatever you say is the right thing, is the best thing. If you're wearing the orange shirt, whatever you say for those of that so the people aren't really listening for policy. I was at a meeting just now, and one lady said to me, I'm going to vote for you. She says, I'm a GLP supporter. I've been a GLP supporter all my life. But this election, I'm going to vote for you in the municipal election as councillor. But I now vote for you for MP. And I'll tell you why. The Labourite or the GLP councillor candidate, him never give me nothing yet.
Wow.
But the MP candidate, the MP guy, he had given her $15,000 to help stock up our shop, 15,000 Jamaican dollars to help stock up our shop. And so she went and vote for him because he gave her that. Now, it doesn't matter that he hasn't fixed the community and done the right things for the constituency, but because he gave her, she'll vote for him. And she's going to vote for me because, well, what I did for her, I
was going to ask you if you give her something, Joseph.
Here's what I gave her. A few years ago, I started a program called the Community Capital Club, where I inspired them. Because in my constituency, Cherish. When in my constituency, what is mostly farming is a farming community, peasant farming. A lot of unemployed, undereducated, struggling people in my community. So this lady has a shop. Now, I created a program back in 2018 called the Community Capital Club, where I caused them to sign an agreement with me and themselves that they're going to save for 4 things in their life. They're going to save for the education of their children, for any health emergency, for some kind of what do you call it now? Where you a fund where you can earn some interest on it. It's called it's where you get money without working. So you put the money in and it earns.
Like a trust.
Yes.
Is that scam that just bust a while ago?
No, not that.
No.
And what they did, I said, save this money. And if you save this money, you can borrow 3 times the amount you save to do something productive. You can't borrow from the fund to do anything that's consuming. It must be something productive. And so from that, many of them in the community were able to get into the habit of saving to invest and then borrowing that money and investing. And because of that, she loves me for life from that perspective. So she's going to vote for me at that level of the thing. So that's what I did for her. But it's not handout. I gave them the idea of you need to be productive.
It's empowerment.
Fish.
Yes.
Give it a net to fish.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cherise, listen, I want to let you go, Cherise.
Yeah, I have to go. It was so good to meet you.
We could have
I should call you MP Patterson.
Where are you from, Cherise?
I am definitely from the Bahamas.
The Bahamas. I was there in 2018.
Oh,
Lovely place. Lovely.
Yes.
I came there with a bunch of my former high school friends. We came on a reunion. And we did a tour of the Caribbean on a cruise ship, and one of our stops was.
Oh, that means y'all been to Nassau then.
Yes, it was so beautiful.
I'm a Freeport girl. You have to come to Freeport.
Sure. Next time.
You guys have to come to Freeport and bring Silbourne. Silbourne need to come and set up there and do a show live and direct from underground.
Absolutely, that's
a deal. We got that.
So he can stop calling my food conch. And he could be able to say that he tastes these things. We have a lot of, Jamaican have their Appleton rum and whatever they got going on. We have our local rums. We have our local beers too. Radlers and Sands and Commonwealth Brewery is really big right now. So we have things other than Miles Monroe.
Okay.
Really good together. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Cherise.
Ladies and gentlemen, support. Yeah. You really do.
Peace out.
Guys.
God bless you. Bye, Cherise. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And ladies and gentlemen, you can contact Cherise at 954-203-6608. And their contact number is there on our email as well. And for those who have been blessed by her comments today and what she imparted in us as well. And somebody just said, Freeport women are stuck up. I don't know if that is Appleton is the best. Joseph, thank you for coming on. And I think the discussion that we had, even with Sherry's from an independent perspective, not knowing much, is really good. Joseph, the the 8th of February was the nomination day, and my thing is now, what next now? Okay, what is the process now up to the 26th
Sure.
to have a very
Basically, it's
yeah.
campaigning all the way. It's
Mm,
campaigning. Now, if you're one of the two traditional parties, you would have been well prepared by now. You would have
mm,
known all you need to know. The PDs that you need to cover, which is the polling divisions, where all the polling stations are located. You'd have hired all of your staff by now. Your indoor agents, your outdoor
mm,
agents, your cluster supervisors. You would have figured out how you're going to pay for this, how much money you're going to pay different workers to do different things. You would have bought all of your placards or your posters. You would have wrapped your vehicles with, whatever you want to wrap it with it to show your candidacy. You would have organized motorcades with your different workers to go through the communities that's within your jurisdiction.
mm.
You would be shoring up your support at every area. Now, if you're a young party like the UICs or an independent candidate,
Yeah,
you would have been less prepared because independent candidates tend not to know all the inner workings and details because they're not party animals. The other two parties have 80 years of experience on us, 80, so they know full well how everything works. I am a little bit more experienced than most because I did run in the 2016 election as an independent candidate back then. And I've also grown up in a political home where my mom was a political activist. So I have a good understanding of the inner workings. So my personal campaign is a little bit more prepared than others because, every candidate has to do the homework. I can't do it for them. I can tell them about it, but they still have to go and do the homework themselves. So in my particular case, we, are putting together our 152 workers for the day. We'll have 64 indoor agents and
yeah,
64 outdoor agents and 24 supervisors across all the different PDs. We have our town crier that's going around and doing what needs to be done. We have our posters all ready to go up tomorrow. And we have our funding mechanism worked out. We are totally funded by individual donors, small donors. So, like today, for example, as I look at my phone, I'll see 500 US coming in, or 250 Canadian, or 50 Canadian, or 20 pounds, or whatever. So that's the little funds that's coming from different direction to help us to pay for all
yeah.
of these costs.
I tell you why we having this conversation. I know I've got your details before, but if you're in a position to get someone to just text me details of people can support you, and I can put it up
Sure.
as well while we're talking. Yeah,
Sure,
I can
absolutely,
put it up. Yeah.
absolutely. All right. Yeah. So keep going. What else do you want to know?
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to know is this, and this is very important, um, and it has to do with the education because when one of the things that you know, as I ask a question, which I know, the dust settles, and now is the time
Mhm.
for public debates and forums. Public debates and forums, hustings. Of course, if this happened, okay, I stood as a council candidate once, and we had to do hustings, whereby you got the conservative, you got the Labour, and whatever, and we talk to the people within that locality, that municipality, as to what your policy is about and what you're about to the people.
Mhm.
Will that happen? Will you be on the
Where does that
platform?
happen?
I'm sorry, sir.
What's the platform for that you're asking?
Yeah, yeah. Will that happen? Whereby
All right.
three of you or so come together in a room
They
and
will have no. They will have the Jamaica is less, in my opinion, less sophisticated. You'll practically have no debates except very high level. They will, and in the last municipal election, the last one which happened 8 years ago in 2016, which was unconstitutional because we should have had an election 5 years after that
yes,
or 8 years
yes.
in. But in the last election, what they had were MPs. MPs
Yeah.
debating MPs of the other side talking about the municipal elections. And one of the reasons for that might be is that most times the councillor candidates are not very bright,
Mm,
which is really scary when you think about it. These people are making decisions about zoning,
mm,
about building permits, about road and infrastructure, construction and maintenance, permits for all kinds of businesses and so on. But yet still they couldn't hold their own debates. They didn't have the councillors themselves debating. So I don't expect to see any debates among us. They will have again, maybe they will have the usual big debate, but it will be literally MPs from the two major parties that will be allowed. The UIC will be excluded. The rules that they set exclude us. So the rules are going to be um, if you were in the previous election, you must have gotten 8% of the votes to qualify to beat the debates. Um, if you weren't in the previous election, you must pay for a poll. Polls are very expensive for small parties to conduct their own polls. They like to pay for it. You have to pay for a poll, and then if the poll shows that you have 8% or more support in four or more parishes and whatever, then you can get in. So they set some really,
high
high
bar.
bars. Now, here's the trick. Here's the thing. They had no reason to do that because there are only 4 registered political parties in Jamaica. 4.
Yes.
So there's no harm in just
And
saying,
remind me of the four.
sure.
PNP,
So you have
JLP,
PNP,
UIC.
JLP, UIC, and then the last one is called the JPP, but they're pretty much defunct.
Mm,
They're not functioning. So really, while there are 4 registered parties, there are only 3 for practical purposes.
yes.
So if the debates commission, which is controlled by the which is
Two main.
controlled by the PSOJ, because they literally say it on their website that it's the PSOJ that's running it. They could simply say, listen, man, we want democracy in Jamaica.
Mm,
Let us use the standard that the party has gotten registered. It has gone through the onerous process of becoming an officially registered party. Let's just have all the official registered parties field if invite us. Let us say no if we don't want to. Invite
yes.
us, and then you have the 4 of us on stage. Maybe just the 3 because the other one might not have anybody to come forward. So the 3 of us would be on stage, and Jamaicans would now hear the UIC position as well as the other 2 parties. But don't expect that. In the regular day-to-day, they make sure not to mention the UIC on TV or radio. They try their best not to mention our names, except if they find something bad to say.
It is very unfortunate because I believe this is working counterproductive to the people of Jamaica, in a sense, whereby a few control the narratives. And I long for the day, and I've been pushing this as much as possible. The education. It rings the same, Joseph, in regards to the
Mhm.
Constitution. The whole
Yes.
Constitution reform is something which is somewhat, I would say, a bit defunct. You're not
Yeah.
hearing much about that anymore now. That whole
No.
process of educating the people, because it doesn't resonate well with the major or the main key players if the people gets educated. Is it a way
Exactly.
you want to keep the people dunce? That's why they like this thing fully dunce. Sorry, no disrespect.
No, you're so correct. You are so correct about that. They want the people to remain dunce, and that actually works, and it's working very, very effectively.
Mm.
And I gave you the wrong
You-
what is it called?
I'll take it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really info at uicjamaica.com. My sincerest apologies.
So I can, all I got to do is put. Okay, I got it. I
Yeah,
got
so
it. All
there
right,
it
okay.
is. Yes,
You,
and I
you,
give
you,
you the phone number.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
You said something at the start about the persons who normally vote in elections, and you distinguish between those who are up and down now, because I see the motorcades and I see
Mhm.
5, 10 or 10 people in the car, you know, up and down, up and down. You're saying these are the persons that normally they get out to vote.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
middle class and upper, they sometimes can't bother them foolishness. Them say them yard. That is why you had
Exactly.
a third. That's why you had a 30%, 30 some whatever.
Yeah. It's
You know.
yeah. In fact, remember, 63% did not vote.
Yes.
So in the last election, in the general election, 27% of the electorate. Now, just to give you a clear understanding, there are 1,900,000 persons on the voters list. Okay,
Yes, I remember that.
and
Yes.
only 27% of them voted in the last election. The sitting government right now got 21% of the total votes, of the total voter population, 21%.
Yes.
Okay, 21%. So the government is operating on a 21% approval, while the opposition is operating on a, what was it? They were like 14%. Yeah,
Yes. One
14.
one got, one got 300 and something thousand, I believe, and one got 400 and something thousand.
Yes,
I
out of 1.9
out
million.
of 1.92 million. Yes.
Yes, the 1.9 million. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what they got. So that's the nature of, and they have no shame about this. Eh? They have no shame,
Mm.
and they get away with it because the those who form the middle and upper class, for them, the politics of Jamaica is literally just a joke. It's something
Mm.
they do follow the entertainment. So they will drink, they'll watch it on TV, they'll watch it and they'll see who will win. But it's more like a football game. You don't take a football game, even though you might, in fact, I think they take a football game more seriously than the political game. So,
Yes.
sometimes a man will get very mad and upset with a if him team gets scored on or whatever. It's
Yeah.
less than that for the politics here in Jamaica, where they just simply watch and it's entertaining. For example,
Mm.
last election, it was about who have the best dub plate.
Oh yes. Yes.
So who have the best? There's a big deal about the shoes the prime minister
The
wear,
clocks.
the
Oh
Clarks.
yeah. I saw a video where somebody said, "Watch your shoes. Watch your shoes. I'm ready now. I'm ready now." And they show the zero on the shoes. And I'm saying, this is wrong. I was saying to myself, somebody said to me, because of mine, said, Silver, you have to understand this is culture. And I said, no, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. You
Yeah.
can't fool the people in. You can't take the people in for idiots, man. You're taking the people for idiots.
And he's right that it's culture. But the question is, where did the culture come from? Because people have this culture is not something you just have. Culture
Yeah.
comes from your governance. I'll give you an
Mm.
example that I love to allude to. In Singapore, they have a culture of being the people highly against corruption. The people, the average person on the street, they're
Mm.
highly opposed to corruption. They have a culture of in Singapore being very clean. Do you remember seeing in the last World Cup where the people from, I think it was Japan or one of those countries,
They're
where
cleaning up the place.
yeah, after the football match, they just automatically turn and pick up everything around them before they
Yes.
leave. Now
Yes.
they're not special enough; they're just programmed. It is a part of their culture because
Culture.
in Japan, when you go to school, they don't hire janitors. The children are taught to clean up after themselves in the school.
Yes.
There's a time in Jamaica when we did that many years ago. Do you remember? I don't know
I
if you
think I
remember.
remember. Yeah.
We used
Yeah.
to assign to the children the roles of cleaning up the
Yes.
classroom,
Yes.
cleaning up the grounds around the school, and it was a part of their normal routine. Now,
Mm.
when you do that to children and to young adults, and then that follows them into adulthood, and the behavior is different. But if you now change the script, like we have done in Jamaica, and start to culture our people to be nasty, dirty, and governments do this. If you have a government that doesn't insist on cleanliness, and a government which by itself isn't clean, you're going to see that manifested itself in the culture of the people.
Mm.
The same with corruption, Selburn, the same with being unproductive, the same with engaging in scamming. As the people look at the politician, they're the biggest scammers in Jamaica are the politicians. So you can't expect now the people coming up to be anti-scamming. They're going to be pro-scamming. You follow me?
Yes. Michelle just said, "I want to keep the people done." So exactly. So what you're saying is a mighty long road, a mighty struggle, Joseph.
Mhm. It
It's
is. It is. But I have hope because
yes.
Lee Kuan Yew did it in 25 years. When Lee Kuan Yew came into office in 1965 in Singapore, it was one of the dirtiest places, one of the most dangerous places, one of the most unproductive spaces because the English were coming out with their base and all kind of stuff. And Lee Kuan Yew took that country, read his book, from third world to first world in 25 years. He did that. One generation, Selburn. These two parties have now had 80 years, Selburn.
Yes.
80 years. This man used 25 years and make that country. When you go to Singapore, I don't know if you've ever been there. It is a magnificent place. It is so clean, so orderly, so pretty, so productive, so rich.
Yes.
The average, the GDP. Did you know that Singapore is richer than America? Did you know that?
I think I heard about it. Yeah, yeah. Based on the
And by richer,
GDP.
what we mean is GDP per capita.
GDP.
So the average Singapore is generating and earning more than the average American.
Yes.
The same Singapore that in 1965 was averaging and earning the same amount as Jamaicans in 1965. We had the same GDP per capita in 1965.
Mm.
And today, their GDP is more than 10, 20 times ours.
Is it a pipe dream then? As many people say, I got these pipe dreams, but just like you say, you got to have hope. So I got to have hope that the government and the party leader will sign up to the 7 codes of conduct. I've got hope at the same time that just like how they came together and they said, let's go for this vision 2030, which I don't see as being achievable because they're not working towards it. But if they work towards something like that and sit down and say, let us work towards that, bringing UIC. Don't see your UIC as a threat, but see everybody as wanting to achieve the ultimate goal of a Jamaica, which is fully fledged, fully developed. Do you
Yeah,
think that they see it as if I give Joseph an opportunity in this, it weakens my chance. If I give that other person, it weakens their chance. So everybody wants to be singularly doing it alone.
well, you have to understand the incentives, and everything in life is built around incentive.
Yes,
If you incentivize people to do evil, they will do as much of it as possible. If
yes,
you
yes,
incentivize them to do good, they will. So, in our model, the model of governance that we adopted in 1962, which was really an exact follow on from 1944 with the basic change of replacing the foreign governor general with the local governor. Sorry, the
yes,
foreign governor with the local governor general. That model of governance, Selburn, I remember you'll recall this. Back in the day when one party would do something good and when the other party come down, tear it down. You remember those
yeah,
days?
yeah,
Right. So that's what happened when you have a tribalistic system. Laying over a foundation of a highly uneducated population.
mm,
Yeah. And so the it's a pipe dream what you're asking for. The only hope I see Jamaica having is where while they keep doing what they're doing, the people become more conscious.
yes,
And that consciousness comes now through access to media. So a lot of people are now watching things on social media and it's causing them to have different thoughts. So for
yes,
example, the typical Jamaican now will see videos that explains banking and money and finance and taxation and things that cause them now to kind of think, oh, I saw this thing up. So with that happening and the UIC emerging on the market, we are now a part of that educational process. And at some
yes.
point, the dynamics will now start to shift
So
because
yes,
over time the people said, but it's 80 years. I was talking to one lady a while ago, she's now 65. She said, from 14 years old, me see my family, I vote GLP, and now me at 65. And me not say nothing. And she went on and on and on.
mm,
And that is the basis. No, I'm ready for switch. No, so, and she's 65, and her grandchild at the time that was there, 7 years old, and her granddaughter, 26 years old, and their
yes.
daughter, which is 35 years old, they were there. And so now that is ringing in their ears. And
I
that's where
started. Yeah,
gradually the transformation won't come from the two colonial parties. It will never come from them. It's going to
mm,
come from the people listening to information that stirs their
yes,
desires and imagination, and then they
mm,
make a switch. So come February 26th, you might find one or so non GLP, PNP candidates, if they break through, that will be the beginning of something
Yes.
new in Jamaica.
Wow, wow. In wrapping up, Joseph, what is your what do you see then for yourself and with UIC in breaking through? I mean, I'm sure you're not just looking to this election, you're looking beyond. Where do you see yourself leading up to the next 2025 election?
Right. So first and foremost, we don't know when the next election is going to be. By law, it must happen by February 2025, I believe, or March 2025. But the
Mm,
Prime Minister may call it at any time. That's the law.
mm,
I suspect we'll have elections in 2024 for the general, right after this one here that we have in the local. The UIC is now gaining a lot of traction. You know, if you spoke a year ago, many persons said they don't know about the UIC.
mm.
Year later, that's different.
The
Uh,
prime, I think the government is supporting it because I see they're wearing your colors, your blue
yeah,
colors.
listen, they tried everything. I mean, they tried to steal our colors, they tried to steal our policies, they tried to hijack our leadership, they tried to destroy our party. So they're trying very hard. But the harder they come is the harder they're going to fall.
Yeah.
And we continue to break new ground. We are, in fact, now, I'm getting calls every day from every part of the country asking if we have a candidate in that area. People begging. And I said to them, I said, I'm so sorry because the way we have candidates, you have to step forward from your community. And they don't understand that yet because it's a
You,
different approach.
you don't
You know,
park people, you don't put people or
yeah,
place them on the people them.
exactly.
Yeah.
So in the old way, they're used to the party just find somebody
And
and
drop them
drop
in there.
them there. And so you have,
Yeah.
like, for example, in my constituency, at a time when somebody who lived all the way in Kingston was the MP here. And we said, no, that can't work. So the people know we have to be educated them to say, listen, step forward. You
Mm.
can find a person in your community and say, we believe in you, we trust you, we respect you. We want you to run as a UIC candidate, So that's what's happening. So by the time the next election comes around, you're going to find this new way of thinking would have percolated and become a part of the thinking of the people. And you're going to find more brave souls because I have braved it now. And they've seen me, I've taken all the beatings from
Yeah.
2013 to now. The confidence level will rise and more people will step forward. And you'll have the first authentic political party since Marcus Garvey. One where it's grassroots, one where it's funded and owned by the people, and one where it's able to work there for the people.
And one whereby the people will know that they were ready to go to the jail because the leader has gone to the jail already, gone to the jail
Absolutely,
also.
absolutely.
Joseph, well, listen. I want to tell you, thank you for coming on, and I listened to a couple of voice notes. One of those voice notes with that young person there,
Yeah,
and it shows that the young people are thinking. They're thinking. They're not moved by what they're seeing, and I want
mhm,
to be also a part of that generation of. That's why I'm moving away from a lot of the noise with lots of
yeah,
discussions. I'm trying to be very targeted. And that's why, Joseph, one of the reasons why I've been targeting these 7 points. I know the Prime Minister and his team have not signed up to the 7 principles of public life.
yeah,
And I've been saying all these candidates should be saying that they are ready to say that they are selflessness, they got integrity, they got objectivity, they got accountability, they got openness, and they got honesty. And I say to you as well, are your candidates ready signed up in that respect? For
Well, we
those.
have not been invited to the table,
No,
Silver.
no, no, no. I must confess,
Yeah.
this is not something whereby they have to be invited to the table, but that is something within their psyche.
No, but that's Silver. That's a part of our constitution.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so
yes.
our
Well,
so
I'm glad
our
you said that.
yeah,
No, yes,
so
yes,
our
yes.
own so our constitution, our frame of reference, the
Mm.
foundation of our existence is built on these core values and core principles.
I forget that
So
I interviewed you in London, isn't it?
yes,
I
you
will
did.
break it down. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we don't have a problem. It's the others who have, and I can tell you this: even if they sign it on paper, they will not practice it.
Mm.
So I am more interested in the doing than the optics.
Yes.
They will. Look at what happened, Selburn. 3 years in a row now, the church, the church has an annual prayer breakfast.
Yes,
The
you are.
church, the church Selburne, we're not talking about a bar or a
Yes,
club. The
yes.
church has its annual prayer breakfast. There are 4 registered political parties in Jamaica, and the church has declined. The church has declined to invite the UIC or the JPP. The church has declined. And when asked
Mm.
2 years in a row, that's the first year they said, oh, it was an oversight. And the
Wow.
second year, oh, we
It was an
missed it.
underside.
And the third year, of course, not a word. The church, Selburne, when you see the church is involved so much in the whole business of political corruption, you know you're in serious trouble.
Mm.
Serious trouble. And the church has decided not to invite a registered, legally registered, on the record political party in Jamaica, and they have invited 2 political, which means they want to keep the status quo.
The
The
status quo.
same way the media,
Mm.
which we would love for the media to be unbiased,
Mm.
to be real journalists. The media also makes sure that it does everything to exclude the UIC from the discussion. But we know why. The media, like the 2 parties, are owned and controlled by the same big money elites that I call the PSOJ oligarchs.
Wow. But I'll have to get someone from the PSOG on one of my shows,
Yes.
and
And
also
make
have
sure
to
you
get,
invite me. Make sure you invite me when you invite
yes,
them.
and also I've got to get the Electoral Commission, because I
Yes.
saw your discussion regarding them and with
And the
the
debates
joining
commission. And the
with
debates commission.
yeah,
So the electoral commission. So
yeah,
invite the ECJ, the
yes,
Electoral Commission of Jamaica, and please, when you invite them as part of your program, show the list of names and faces of the persons who sit on the commission. You're going to see that they're very notable political persons from the
yes.
2 major political parties, and there'll be no representation on that body from the other 2 registered political parties. Okay, that's number 1. So the
Wow.
ECJ is actually a bipartisan body,
Yes.
meaning it's controlled by the 2 parties to
Mm.
pursue their interest, not the interest of the Jamaican people. That's the ECJ. The PSOJ now, you're going to find that that is a special interest group that is working for special interests, and their interest is to ensure that the economy works on their behalf. And they will pump in this election. Well, the last election they pumped $330 million into the 6 weeks of election,
Yes.
plus what they gave outside of election. 330 million, Selburne. And this election, I can assure you, they will contribute even more. So the PSOJ and the church and the media
Mm.
controls Jamaica's political landscape, the narrative, the visibility of candidates, the visibility of the discussion, the narrative of the discussion. So if they
Yeah.
don't want to talk about, for example, if they don't want to talk about the effects of bauxite mining
Mm.
and what it's doing to our farmers, what it's doing to our air quality, what it's doing to our water quality, if they don't want to make that a front and center topic to address the impact on the Jamaican people, you won't hear it, because the PSOJ and the media and the church and the 2 colonial parties will work together to suppress information, to suppress discussion, and to feed the people narratives that are misguided and which will misdirect them or distract them away from the real issues affecting their lives.
And I can add as well, and you can confirm this, the ombudsman and the issue, you weren't consulted in regards to that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That's good. Yeah.
And I totally object to them having the ombudsman being absorbed
Into the
into
election.
the electoral commission. In fact,
Mm.
I don't even agree to having one ombudsman. You should have a panel,
A
uh,
panel.
a panel of persons similar to the ECJ, but these must be truly independent persons, meaning the process of appointment should not be based on political affiliation. You
Yes.
should have something where, even if you're just going to do a draw, my goodness, just have a raffle, my God, and just
Yes.
because the way they do all the commissions and all the boards, they stock them with these partisan people and then tell us these boards are working for us when they're working for the parties.
Well, I think Joseph, I think the people of Jamaica need to rise up, and they want to be educated. They have got to rise up. Actually,
Absolutely.
I
And that's
think
why
I
we're
think I
here.
think I think the whole thing is in the hands of the people of Jamaica. Jamaica people.
Well, I tell you who has the handle.
Yeah.
The Jamaican people here at home will not rise up fast enough,
Yeah.
Salburn. It's the diaspora who has to do it. You know why?
Mm,
You in the diaspora, I am certain all of you in the diaspora can find $25 a month to donate to a political party. I'm sure of that. Compared to the local Jamaican who don't feel as though they have the financial capacity. They might have it too, but at a lesser level because they
mm,
do buy a lot of foolishness. Many Jamaicans spend money foolishly even when they're poor, but mentally they're not seeing that connection. But you in the
yes.
diaspora who have left Jamaica and have been able to see a different way of life and see that we can do much better. We can have a
Yes.
safer Jamaica. We can have a cleaner, more orderly place. You know better. So if you guys in the diaspora would decide that, you know what, make we go own the UIC. Make all
Yeah.
of us just make up our own this part. Because then knowing them, all of your desires will be realized because you're going to match the PSOJ now. 1,000 person in the diaspora donating 25 or $50 a month to the UIC to make it independent of the PSOJ
Mm,
and a true, counterbalance to the other two parties would make all the difference, Albert. But as
yeah.
long as you guys sit on the sideline and leave us to suffer in the wilderness in a very harsh political environment where funds are very limited in terms of the local population, you're not helping yourself.
And the
The
diaspora
US,
and the
go
people in
ahead.
the diaspora battering around saying they want order and a good sense when really and truly it's also in our hands.
It's in your hands. I said the other day they had this big thing they're going to protest. I support the protest in principle, but I think we can do better than that. Rather
Yes.
than just protest, why not organize your own political party?
Organize.
Why
Yeah.
not say, let's have a solid political party that we're going to back and support to get, like the UIC said, listen, we have a clear principle on the diaspora. You must be able to run for office in Jamaica with dual citizenship. That's our policy. And
Mm,
why we're saying that, Selburn, is
yes.
because if you what do you call it now? If you disqualify people based
Yeah.
on the fact that they have dual citizenships, what
Mm.
you're doing is punishing them for being forced out of their own country. There you go. You see that?
I got the Jamaica one and the UK one.
There you go. Now, because you are in the UK, you're okay because Commonwealth citizens can run in Jamaica.
Exactly.
But most Jamaicans abroad are in the US.
Yes. Yes.
And if you
Yes.
have a US citizenship, you cannot run in Jamaica, which is foolishness.
Yes.
So you, Selburn, could come back and keep your British citizenship and still run. Me can come back from Canada because Canada is a Commonwealth country and me can run. But our brilliant friends over there in the US can't run
Yeah.
because we just arbitrarily have a law that says no, you can't run. But watch
Joseph,
this.
Joseph, I want you to do something for me.
Sure,
I'm gonna
yes.
put you on full screen. Just keep
Okay.
talking, and I'll come back to you. Just keep
Okay,
talking.
no problem.
Put you on full
So
screen.
yeah, man. So what I'm suggesting is this. The UIC is proposing that we give those in the diaspora the right to vote remotely, the right to register to vote remotely, the right to come back and run for office in Jamaica with your dual citizenship. So you're not giving anything up because you should not be punished for being made an economic refugee by bad governance. And we also want to make sure that everyone from the diaspora can return home to Jamaica without any hassle, with 100% of their assets of every kind, once it's legal, without paying a cent in duty. Just imagine how that will affect our brain drain problem when we make it easier, more inviting, more rewarding for those in the diaspora to come back to Jamaica, run for office, serve in any position without having to give up their dual citizenship, the benefits they went and suffered to gain in other countries simply because Jamaica did not afford you that opportunity. No Jamaican abroad should be punished because they had to go somewhere else to make something of their lives. And that is a key policy of the UIC. And the moment the diaspora realize how powerful this is, combined with the rest of our policies, we should all get behind this movement and make sure that it wins government and give us the Jamaica we want to see.
It's interesting what you say, because I spoke to a couple of persons who are independent candidates, and they have also highlighted that the diaspora is where they actually need that support from, in a way, because it seems like the traction of the people there with the pressure of the both sides, they're finding it very difficult, to really break through, even though they're independent. So they're looking for this other push. It's
Yeah, they need the money. It's money, right, Selbert? You cannot win an election without money.
Yes.
Plain and simple. And the question is where you get it from. Now, the PSOJ has no vested interest in giving money to anybody else because they have two horses in the race, and their horses are well established and will likely win. They have no need to go and give another $350 million to some other group. They give almost equal amount to the two, and they own the two. So we, the others, now have to find funding elsewhere. And I think the best place for that funding to come from is for the diaspora, but not just the money. I want the brain power of the diaspora as well. I want the diaspora to become active in the party, be a part of the policy instrument, be a part of the think tank, be a part of the solution. So, for example, let's go on to fix the transportation system. I'm sure there are people in the diaspora who have experience and knowledge in logistics from a transportation standpoint and what we can and should do. We want to fix the healthcare system. I'm sure we have brilliant persons in the diaspora who can bring knowledge to the discussion and help us with that. So I want to embrace the diaspora, not just financially, but intellectually as well.
Yeah. And of course, person within the diaspora of recent days, they're saying you don't have the local standard to even take a case because you're not recognized. But hey, bring the money come. 3 billion has been seen to be the power which has come in from the diaspora as well. Joseph, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on again. I know we always try to catch up each other each time. I wish you all the best in the election on the 26th. Of course, we'll talk again. And I'm here anytime there's something that you want to share or whatever like that, let me know as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and all the best to your team as well, Joseph.
Appreciate it. All the best. And thanks for having me again. Take care.
Cheers.
Good night, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye. God bless you, sir. Cheers.
Okay.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. And I just had Mr. Joseph Patterson from the United Independent Congress sharing his views in regards to the election coming up. He was nominated, and members of the UIC party, United Independent Congress. The election is going to be February the 26th. And I wish him all the best. I wish the right persons that will do the best thing for the people within the constituents, within the municipal, within the wards as well, and for the people of Jamaica to be educated as much as possible. If the political parties won't educate them, then I believe that it's incumbent upon people like myself and different persons to sort of show some of these areas, because as the campaign intensifies, I believe, as I said, there should be public debates, and the public debate should be the persons who are the candidates, but not for the MPs or the leaders of the political parties to be the one that speak, but for the local candidates. Voter education is crucial. Electoral monitoring, I don't know if there's any early voting or absentee ballots, public engagement, voter mobilization, and all these different factors. And of course, Cherise Hollingsworth, she was on tonight talking about some fantastic things and the work that she's doing, which was really great. You need to tune in and go back to watch the video there where she talked about mental health and trauma and bits and pieces. And of course, Bahamas. Finally, we talk about Bahamas. There's more to the world than Jamaica. There's Bahamas as well. So thank you for those joining on TikTok, those on Facebook, and those on YouTube. Remember to like and subscribe and to the show. And I'll see you next week, Saturday night on Talk and Sip. And remember to follow my Walk and Talk, Motivational Moments in the Park, where you use my time of inspiration and motivation. Okay, thank you very much. God bless you. Bye bye.